Honorable delegates, advisors, staff, and our distinguished guests, welcome to the 2011 Global Classrooms International Middle School Model UN Conference. Thank you all for coming. Before I continue, can everyone hear me? Everyone can hear me. Okay. If at any point you can't hear, or you can't hear well, that you're like, wait, what did she say? Just raise your hand, okay? This is practice for committee session, okay? Just raise your hand, and we will know that we need to speak up, okay? Do we agree? Yes? Yes. Perfect. Thank you, guys. So it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you as Secretary General at this conference here at the Grand Hyatt. My name is Woodin-Rodriguez. I am a student at Columbia University, and like many of you, I had to take a plane to get here. Not today, but 4 years ago, when I came here from my home country, Mexico. In order to get started, I actually want to learn a little bit about all of you. So please raise your hand if you're coming from a country outside of the United States. Raise your hand, up high, proudly. Raise your hand if you are not from New York. Okay, that's great. Now raise your hand if you are from New York. Okay, now finally, raise your hand if this is your first Model UN conference. Wow, look at that. So I hope you are all able to see the amazing diversity in this room. Much like the United Nations, in this room we represent a variety of nationalities and cultures. I hope you also noticed that many here today are participating in their first Model UN conference. So if you're nervous or excited or scared or anything, just know that the person sitting right next to you, in front of you, and behind you, and all around you is probably feeling the same way as you. So it's okay. As I said before, it wasn't too long ago that I was in your position. One of my first Model UN conferences was also with UNA USA. And like many of you, this was my first time in New York City. And certainly the first time I had to speak in front of so many people. There were about 200 delegates in my committee. Pretty intimidating, but it was great. The one difference for me is that I was in high school and you guys are in middle school. So you definitely have an advantage. Think about it. When you guys are in high school, you're going to be expert Model UN delegates. At my first conference, I was representing North Korea. I don't really remember what committee it was, but the topic had something to do with nuclear weapons. So I had a really tough position because everyone in the room disagreed with me. And I remember that I was very excited, but I was also very nervous. And there were three things specifically that made me really nervous. The first thing is that I was deadly afraid of not knowing enough about my topic, not knowing enough about my country, about saying wrong information, and it intimidated me to know that maybe I didn't know enough. The second thing that made me really nervous was just getting up and speaking in front of people. Whenever I tell people this, they don't believe me because I'm usually really loud and sometimes a little bit obnoxious, but it's true. I was really nervous about making that first speech. I mean, would it make sense? Would I persuade people? Would people remember me? Would they like me? Are they going to hate me? And all these things were really running through my head, and I was afraid of not doing a great job. And finally, the third thing that really made me nervous was that I really did not know how Model UN worked. I mean, people had tried to explain to me. They tried to explain points and motions, but I was like, I really don't understand what you're talking about. I had no idea, for instance, that I had to refer to myself as my country. I had to say North Korea thinks as opposed to I think. And I mean, more importantly, I didn't even know that resolutions existed. So I was pretty lost. And I'm sure that all of you guys are in a better position than I was when I started. But even with all those fears, I pushed myself. I was in committee, really nervous, knowing that I should talk, but avoiding it at all costs. I was hiding in my chair so that like the dais wouldn't see me and they wouldn't call me because I was so afraid. But at one point, I really just had to tell myself, what am I doing here if I am not making the most of this? What is the point of me being here if I am not actually participating? And so I raised my placard, I got called on, I made my first speech. I mostly read from my position paper. But after I did that first speech, I felt so much more relaxed. I felt like I could keep going, and I did. I had to break down that initial fear of being seen, of maybe being wrong, and afterward, it was amazing. I came up with ideas, I talked to them with people, I've improved upon them, and I was really proud and really happy with the result. And so, I would like to share with you what I learned about this, so that maybe it'll help you in your process at this conference. So I mentioned 3 things that scared me, right? Let me tell you what I learned about them. So the first thing I said is that I was scared of not knowing enough. And I've learned that I have to trust what I know. I may not know everything about a topic, but I know some things. And those are the things that I can bring into a debate. Those are the things that I can talk to people about, that I can write in a resolution. And another very important thing I learned is that Model UN is about sharing. It wasn't about me coming up with the best solution and then impressing everyone with that. It was about everyone bringing ideas into the floor and then everyone coming up with the best solution. So if this weekend you feel like you don't know enough, remember that what you know is important and that it's important to bring it so that everyone can contribute. So the second thing I said is I was scared of speaking in public. And like I said earlier, I learned that I just needed to take the first step. And even if it is uncomfortable, even if it is nerve-wracking, I have to take it. And things do get much easier and a lot more fun afterwards. So this weekend, be brave. Take that first step. I also learned a trick that may help you guys when you're in committee. In order to get myself comfortable speaking in front of 200 people, what I did is that as soon as I got into committee, I started talking to people. I talked to delegates, I talked to the dais, I introduced myself, I made friends, and then made it really easy because when it came the time to make a speech, I'd already been talking for like 20 minutes before. So I was warmed up, and also I had a group of people that I could work with. So just talk to people, you'll make friends, and it'll make committee much easier and a lot more fun. And finally, the third thing, I said I was nervous because I didn't understand Model UN procedure. In my time as a delegate, I learned that it is okay to ask questions. And actually, you guys are in the best place to be because at Global Classrooms, it's not only okay to ask questions, it's great. We like to be asked questions. As soon as you leave for a committee, you're going to be in a group with not only your delegates, but also a tremendously talented staff who care so much about you and about making this the best experience for you. So please do not hesitate to ask questions. Send notes if you don't want to raise your placard. Raise a point of inquiry. I guarantee that there are other people who want to ask the same question that you want to ask. We are here to make this the best experience for you and to make sure that you want to keep coming back. And then maybe like me, you two will be standing up here. So with that, this weekend I invite you to challenge yourselves. Push your limits. Every committee session, do something that scares you. Raise your placard. Put yourself in the speakers list. Make a speech. Negotiate with people. And more importantly, have fun in the process. That's what this is all about. Sometimes when we get too intense about Model UN, we forget that it's supposed to be fun. So once again, welcome to the 2011 Global Classrooms Middle School Model United Nations Conference. Make the most of it. I would now like to introduce Mr. Patrick M. Madden, the Executive Director of the United Nations Association of the United States of America. Mr.